Cold front coming through. Oh, we're recording. This better be really good then.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. You better be ready to go, polished.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Hopefully, you got your story down. I don't know. You need to practice on it a little.
Come up with a good one today.
That's it. That's it. Well, guys, hey, thank you guys so much. All of you that have jumped on here with us live. We are going to record this, so we'll definitely pass this out to everybody. But super excited to hang out with everyone tonight. Some of you may know I'm like here showing the plan. Trinity is down in Sarasota showing the business. They did a home presentation. Eric Giroux and his team and Danae and all them are crushing it down there. So we're just dividing and conquering and all over the place making things happen. But I'm super excited for everybody to be on the line with us here tonight and learn from one of our main key mentors who's really taken us by the arm and step by step us through the business. Because let's face it, in business, there's going to be awesome days and there's definitely going to be some days that are a little more challenging, and that's normal. But like, how do you overcome obstacles and how do you make things happen? You know, stay focused, stay the course, and grow a business up to be able to produce an ongoing income and accomplish the reason why each and every one of us are running our unfranchised businesses. So I would love for David to first, thank you so much for taking time and jumping on with us. I know you guys are actually crushing things up there in Kansas, and the team's growing like crazy up there. So, but yeah, I just want everybody to get to know you. We have so many brand new people that are killing their business right now who don't know who David and Stacy Whited are yet. I just want to give some David and Stacy time and just like this story and like how you guys got your business up and rocking, man.
Well, we'll spread it out a little bit. We'll have Stacy on another night. She's we're multitasking like yourselves tonight, as well. But it's a great time to be me right now. I think my Jayhawks, over in Kansas City, ranked #1 in basketball. My Chiefs are having a dream season. We have our own quarterback for the first time. The Chicago Bears took our offensive coordinator, and you guys are skyrocketing, with that guy as well. So just it's a good time to be me for the most part, except for you escaped the cold. You're down there tan and chilling on the beach and in the warm weather, and I was shoveling ice off our driveway last night. So enjoying I had all 4 seasons this past weekend, actually. So enjoying that time, up here in Kansas City. But I spent just a moment, on our story. A lot of people have kind of, heard different things. There's YouTube and there's, platforms to really elaborate on that. But the biggest thing is that I feel like we're probably, the most typical, maybe what JR had in mind when he made this opportunity available. There's a lot of people in this world that can succeed, that have, if you write a song and Garth Brooks cuts it and it's huge or something, you're going to do well. If you have a manuscript for a book, like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, you're going to do well. You get to participate in this ongoing, larger than what, is in relationship to the hours that you work income. If you're a mastermind with real estate, there's some ways you can do, some things with it, buying houses. You watch infomercials, those guys all, sometimes you watch these Chip and Joanna Gaines flipping a house and you're like, I can do that. That looks pretty easy. They can make a house go from looking like a piece of junk to a mansion, amazing, and 30 minutes with commercials. I'm like, we can do that. Look how much fun they're having, babe. We can flip a house, and so you look at, there's a lot of opportunities out there, but really for what I would say the quintessential average couple, like Stacy and I, we were about to turn 23 years old. We were 22. We didn't really we came from good people, but there wasn't a lot of what I would call like success principles when it comes to financial success that was taught to us. In my side, there's even a lot more dysfunction than that. There wasn't relational success. There wasn't financial success. There weren't, the marriages weren't successful. But they were really good people that just sort of ricocheting off of everything that happened, And so I'm kind of just 22, kind of trying to figure these things out. And Stacy came from a little, better background family-wise and so forth, but not financially. No school teachers and best people, hardest working people in the world, but just neither one of us came from an environment where people bought 4 tires at the same time, or if the washing machine broke, it was drama, there's always something. You're just kind of patching it together and getting things going. And so we'd moved to Colorado Springs. I was going to school kind of for the second time. First time I went and played football. This time I was really going for school for real. And Stacy was a cosmetologist and cutting hair. She loved what she did. She was really good at what she did. One of those people that just, was thriving. She specialized, even if somebody got a bad hair color job, she could fix it. If they got in a hot tub and turned green or something, she could repair it. People came to her and she kind of got known for that. But she got sick with her second pregnancy, our daughter, and she'd been pretty sick with our son, but with our daughter, it was much worse. And when I say sick, there's a little bit of sickness associated with, I have sympathy for any woman that has a baby or creates a human inside of them from scratch, no matter what. If it was the easiest pregnancy ever, I still wouldn't want to do it personally. It'd be too much for me to handle. But hers was, throwing up every few. She didn't eat anything through her mouth and hold it down for majority of the whole pregnancy. Right till the very end, she could actually eat food. Every vein in her feet had collapsed. They put IVs everywhere in her body, and eventually they put a PICC line up her arm, and that's how she ate. And it went literally from like working, cutting hair, thriving on Tuesday, Wednesday on home health care, in the hospital, like just really sick. So we learned an important thing about residual income. And the main thing we learned was we didn't have any, we learned an important part about leverage. We didn't have any leverage. We were hardworking, good people. We showed up early, we stayed late and did the whole deal. But as soon as you couldn't show up, it didn't matter how much they liked you. Everybody loved you. And people say money's not important. Well, it is. You can't go to Walmart and give them hugs. They want money for things. And so there's a lady named Marcia that owned the salon that Stacy worked at. She had about 18 cosmetologists that worked for her. And her income continued. Ours stopped the very next day. And so to make up that loss, I was working for a phone company named MCI. If you're probably 35 or 40 and older, you know what I'm talking about. If you're younger than that, you're like, never heard of them. But at the time, they were probably the third biggest phone company in the world. And I sat next to an amazing lady named Trinity. And in a dark, gray, negative, soulless environment, she was this bright sunbeam, like a sunflower, because she was able to be disciplined in her attitude and keep it strong in an environment where you're dealing with people and getting a lot of no's, a lot of rejection in a sales environment. And so there's probably maybe 800 people that worked on the floor where we were. And I just always tried to shuffle around to be near her, because if you're spending 8 hours, being told to go stick it and people hanging up on you, and you're next to somebody who's just full of energy in life, you needed that to survive. It was almost like a survival thing. And she just became my buddy, and the first person I ever approached to when I heard about this business, my brother gave me a phone call and he said he wanted to expand his product brokerage company out into the Midwest. And my older brother was 14 years older than me, had done much better than me at most everything that he had done. He had credibility from that standpoint. And he started talking about some of these ideas. You know a couple of people, a couple of sharp people that you want to be in business with. And I'm like, I know a couple. I knew Trinity, and I knew Tom Holland was another name came to mind. Trinity's the first person that I approached to. It was the worst no I've ever received, even as of yet today. Not because she was mean. She was just really condescending and patronizing. And I don't know if I can muster up my inner Trinity tonight, but she was like, oh, David, people are never going to give their credit card number on the computer, and just kind of like, it was kind of one of these like pat you on the head, don't take any wooden nickels, send you on down the road, kind of no's, which was the worst no. Like, you'd rather be told like, you're an idiot, this will never work. That's easier than like a really sweet, somebody feels sorry for you for getting suckered in no. Like, oh, I thought you were better than that, kind of. You fell for that again, kind of a no. It was the worst no. And so we just kind of, began a process. I want to talk, I love talking about the beginning there with Trend, but I guess that's a lesson there, because for most people, that's probably more normal than not. The person that you have come to mind may not be the first person that runs with you. And JR says you got to succeed so that other people realize their dreams, and you don't know who's waiting on you to continue on. Trinity ended up leaving on maternity leave to have a child of her own. And when she came back, I was not there. And so that obviously raises the question. And so it was kind of because of that, and we weren't making a fortune when you don't make a whole lot. It didn't take a whole lot to replace it. I wasn't a brain surgeon, but I was able to replace, my extra jobs. I had 4 jobs total at that time because I was making up Stacy's loss of income. And so in the middle of that, just hustling. They weren't glamorous jobs. It was like a dry cleaner and a conference center and a car wash, because the car wash paid cash at the end of each shift. Eventually I was donating plasma 3 times a week because they pay you $15, $20 and $25 if you went the third time in a 5-day period. So that's kind of what our life looked like is then. And so for me, this business was a lifeline where I was receiving mentoring from somebody who was helping me get where they are versus everywhere else. Even people at the car wash there's a hierarchy at the car wash. They don't want you to get to be the dry guy. You got to start with the vacuum because it's the most manual labor, job there. So nobody was helping me get up to where they were in any other environment. But when this business came into my life, all of a sudden I found there were people that had various amounts of experience doing lots of different things, and they were willing to pour into me and help me. And so, very quickly I was able to replace a part-time job. And, I wasn't rich, but I was, now I didn't work at the dry cleaner anymore. I didn't have to work at the conference center, till 2, 3 in the morning, anymore. Just kind of one thing at a time, slowly over the course of the next year, bought my life back. One, a few hours here and a few hours there. And I literally looked at it like that. I was purchasing back my life into where I was just working my job to replace Stacy's income. And then I went half-time at MCI. Then I was able to free up a place in the economy for Trinity to jump back on that carousel and take my place at MCI. So I think it is an important lesson, though, because a lot of people just see the happy ending and you don't realize that, most people that, achieve some success in this business, they had to build through some things not going like they imagined them in their head. Like you think of, if you're on this call, if you're participating in this business, somewhere in here, when someone was sharing this with you, you had somebody come to mind. It's like, my cousin, I keep my cousin, or there's somebody that came to mind. It was presented to you in a way that someone came to mind that you thought, I think I can do this, but I know for sure I got a couple of people in mind that I could share this with. If you didn't have somebody come to mind that you could possibly share this with, you probably didn't proceed. And I know that kind of universally. Anybody that's a part of this company is because when they saw this, they thought of 2 people. And you kind of move forward and took action on it. Now, those might not be the 2, that join you, or they might not be the 2 that join you right away. And you might owe it to them to kind of, work on your skill set and trudge along, and so that you're kind of who they need to be to lead them later, might be the way that will go. So I know you said the top 5 tips. I don't know if I'm going to get to that or if I'm going to elaborate any more on the getting started. I guess I got to get to the happy ending quicker. By the end of the first year, we were annualized at 6-figure income. That's a cool part. I never made more than $25,000 a year combined. And, so the ability to be able to get to a 6-figure income, for me, I thought that would solve all problems. I thought that we could buy a small country or an island or maybe a pro sports team. I had no idea. I thought, if you made $10,000 in a 4-week period, the world would be your oyster. And, what I found out is I woke up every morning and it was still me. I was still shaving me. I was still getting ready. And everywhere I went, there I was. And some of the things that I learned in the process were super valuable and helpful. And I learned that there was still a lot more, left to learn. And it was kind of a journey. And the valuable thing about this business is you can go from really struggling to relative, prosperity or abundance. We have a lot more than you need, which I consider that prosperity and abundance. It's not how much you make, it's how much extra you make. That's the key thing. And so to go to that point, but as opposed to where you see somebody that they inherit, because basically this is almost like having a trust fund, because you receive, a big fat check every Friday. That's a reflection of what you did quite a while back, not a reflection of what you did today. And so most situations where somebody has that environment, it's destructive. They won the lottery, they inherited something from an uncle or, something like that. Well, this business enabled for me to grow and for Stacy to grow, for us to grow as people as our income grew. And so we kind of developed, the strength, in our legs and to be able to sustain and be able to hold our success, which I don't know, man, if I was good at fixing houses and all of a sudden they gave me a TV show like Chip and Joanna Gaines, man, maybe you unravel. And so there's not a lot of environments that you're not only helping people with an avenue to increase their income, you're actually helping them with a process that allows them to become a millionaire at the same pace that they're getting $1 million. And Jim Rohn says the worst thing that can happen to somebody is they get $1 million without becoming a millionaire. And this really helps you do both at the same time. So it's not only an income that you can obtain, but it's a lifestyle you can sustain long term.
Yeah, I think that's super important because it's who we can become in the process versus just all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's a lump sum of money.
Yes.
It's like who can handle the most obstacles or challenges that get thrown our way, and then you get paid in proportion to that, right?
Yep, it's huge. And then, as we went on later in life, it kind of skipped some stories there. We were able to, spend, by the time we were 25 years old, we never really had to work for anyone else. By the time we were about 28, we never had to work at all. And, whether it's for someone else or even ourselves. And so that really creates an environment where you can really sit back and decide, and hopefully from this call tonight, Market America is awesome. You want to build this business, you want to fall in love with it and the processes. But at some point here, you're going to have the opportunity to spend full time on your purpose or whatever you feel like you're called to be doing, maybe not called to do for your life, but called to do in this moment, in this season, whether it's, raising a child or maybe helping, we've done everything. We've raised children. My mother passed away this spring and she was on hospice, all spring. And in June we had a funeral. It's like, all these seasons of life where sometimes your calling, so to speak, may not be something glamorous, but you're called to put a lot of hours somewhere that's not profitable. And so you can spend full time on what, you feel like you're called to do and you're here to do, and then part-time making money. And so for us, that's looked like a lot of different things. We started a record label in Nashville and spent, a few years on that. And we got paid every week for the work we did in the past. We have an orphanage in Mexico with 45 kids on a 3-acre property. And that was a big, passion of ours. I grew up, the single mom and a dad that was, unplugged from the situation. And so fatherlessness was a big deal for me. And actually able to put your hours, into those things is a really great component. But I like to point out on those things is everything that helped us to do well in music is things we learned building this business. If I would have cut a corner there and all of a sudden fast tracked and ready to do music, then, okay, I'm making a great income, but I still suck. I don't have the ability to network and to follow up and to find out, because in the music business, I knew 3 or 4 people. None of them helped me, but they knew someone who knew someone who knew someone. And my networking ability enabled us to open a lot of doors in the music business. Everybody that was on Stacy's album played for Garth Brooks and Tim McGraw, and our producer had worked with NSYNC and Shania Twain. But all those came from the networking skills that we developed building our business that I did not have when I first heard of this company. Everything that we did in fundraising and doing things in our children's home and all the visas and shots. And, it costs about $1,200 a year just to be a legal alien in Mexico. They give you a hard time. They think it's just people coming over the border this way. It's expensive to go to Mexico and be a full-time volunteer. You have a lot of FM1 visas and things you got to do. Overcoming all of those obstacles are all muscles we developed by building our business. And so my encouragement is, as you're getting started and as you're looking at, man, this seems challenging, or I got to learn how to learn new lingo. What's a Form 1000? Or I've got to, figure out a new website. And all of these muscles you're developing, they don't apply just here. You don't want to cut the corners, on that, because you're going to have this full-time income coming in, and the skills you're developing to get it are going to serve you well, in your next station that this business is helping you fund. And so I'm so thankful for those skills, even beyond the income.
Yeah, and I think one of the most amazing parts about your guys' journey is and how many tiers or I'll call the ripple of like lives that have been changed, from, Stacy's parents to, Tom did listen to you in the beginning,
Yeah.
There's so many tiers of people. There's tiers of people that listened and crushed it with you guys. And then there's obviously people who chose not to, and it's life. It is, everybody gets to choose, but I think it's pretty amazing that a lot of the original people did say, hey, we're in it to win it. Let's go and link arms and let's make it happen,
Yeah. And, getting to see, long-term, there's not a lot of companies that start that are really geared towards being around 6, 7, 8 years. Even just some of the way that they start their marketing, you can tell it's going to be scorched earth and on to the next thing. And so, I'm a part of a business today that, my son was 2 years old when we were first starting this, and he was my big why at that moment. but now he's a six-figure earner, in our organization. He got married, and all of a sudden money became something different. You can be really cute and clever when you're single and dating and always putting your best foot forward. But he learned quickly, when you get married, man, chicks like stuff, like his junky sofa was okay when he was single, but he got married and it's like, no, that smells funny. We're getting a real couch, so he's like, well, I need to do something besides, bartend at Outback. And so, so to be able to take all those skills and then pass it on in a tangible way to our son, where, if I did have one of those, I mentioned earlier, like if I was a great songwriter, even if my son was more talented than me, it's not a guarantee that he's going to have my same exact success, or if I owned a big law practice, there's not a guarantee that even if my son was better, that he could have the same success. Sometimes there's timing and other things involved in those situations. And so, or a professional athlete, or, lots of different things. So this is a really great thing where, like you said, we work with Stacy's mom and dad, and, her dad was my coach in school, and be able to, everything we're learning, pass on to them and have them get free financially. And then, but the same thing to our son. But when I talk about the longevity of companies, grab a hold of this idea right here. I mean, if all of you that are new and just kind of, you're just looking for reasons to hope and believe, grab this idea that this business is better for our son when he was 22 than it was for us when he was 2. And so it's a very low level skill set that you'll compete with in the marketplace, that people want to pitch the idea of, you want to get in early, or those who, make the most money got in early, or, you're going to share the plan with someone, and someone else is showing them another company, and they're like, yeah, but if you get in at the top of this, you're going to be, just think about what's going on in your mind to do that. You're insinuating that the opportunity is going to be less valuable 3 years from now. So it means your cousin's best friend's sister is going to be left when the music stops not having a chair, and then that probably is an effective sales technique, because you're playing on people's fears and insecurities and those things. But I love sharing this with them and telling them, man, it'd be a bummer if you don't do this now, because the view from the top's the same. You might as well get there sooner. But if you do this next year, I can tell you this, it's going to be better. Our website will be better and better. You're just going to be starting from scratch a year from now. So, if you're going to get rich anyway, do you want to get rich sooner or later? I mean, if you're going to have a residual income, do you want one now or 10 years from now? And so it's really, it's a good place to be. It's a good place to go to sleep at night, and to know that everyone that you're partnering with is continually at a better place in the evolution of our company than anyone's ever been before. And that's a pretty cool thing to offer.
It is. It's pretty amazing. Love it. All right. So let's jump into our top 5.
I haven't even listed one yet. Those were all just free bonus materials.
Yeah. Well, to me, it was still all great, because it's a story with training included in the story. Which is love it.
All right. Note number 1. I spent some time on these today, because narrowing to 5. If you'd asked me for 10, it'd be easy. So some things had to not make the cut, but know why you're doing this. Know why you're doing this, and what needs to be done daily as an actionable item to move the needle, and make progress towards your goal. And a lot of people have a big goal, like, man, I really want to get my wife home from work, or they have a big goal that might be $30,000 a year or something, which isn't unrealistic at all. But sometimes we overestimate what can be done in your first 90 days. And we underestimate what can happen if you do something simple daily over the next 2 to 3 years. And that causes our activity, we're kind of bouncing off of shiny objects versus, in your mind, working hard, doing something daily, building towards the next local event that's going to help you create leverage. And if I can encourage you early, is know why you're doing this, know that little motivation that keeps you going. And that's important, man. If you're trying to lose 10 pounds and you're going to the gym, or you're trying to learn Spanish, or anything you're doing, it's a compound effect of little things that happen daily. You got to know why you're doing it, and then what are the things you got to do daily to move you towards that. And just I'm shocked at people that dilly-dally around and they're in this for 9 months or 3 years, and they'll give me a call. I'm like, hey, my company's going to be downsizing me. I'm going to get laid off in 2 months. I want to build this thing. I got to replace a 6-figure income in 2 months. And I'm like, why don't you become fluent in Russian in 2 months? Or it doesn't apply to anything of value. It's like, I don't know, why don't you not talk to your wife for 3 years and then try and fix it in 3 days or something? It's like anything of value, parenting your kids or training a dog and so this business, it really requires a little something consistently is much better than a whole lot of something, that's not sustainable. And sometimes people get discouraged too early and don't value what they're becoming by the little things they're doing every day. Because as soon as you become a 6-figure earner, the company will send you 6 figures. I used to tell my son that all the time. He'd call me on his way home. He was in California at the time, and we were in Texas when he was first getting started. And he called me discouraged, and he's like, man, I want to be at a 6-figure income so bad. And I tell Colton, I said, well, you know why you're not earning 6 figures, right? And he's like, why? Because you're not a 6-figure earner, and it's not a play on words. It's like, if you just put all your effort into becoming a 6-figure earner, the earnings come, the 100,000 a year comes. And so, but it's not in a day. It's the compound effect of little things over a short period of time. So know why you're doing it. And then what do I need to do each day to move the dial forward? Any comments on that?
Oh man, that's nail on the head. Well, because, we got so many new people, and everybody's rocking and we got a lot of great momentum happening. But, as we both know, as a new person, we've got 2 voices, man, and they're not with us. And, it's easy to let way more negative thoughts coming in on how well I'm doing the business. Am I doing a great job? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I good looking enough? Whatever it might be.
You're always looking for something. And that's a unique thing we have as humans. Humans, we're kind of always looking to the left and the right to find our own value, to find our own trajectory, our own pace. And it's like, who cares? Sometimes we're like, well, that guy did it in a year. Well, you don't know what he did the 3 years previous. He might have paid a price tag back in high school selling apples or something. It's like everybody has to pay a price tag. And so it's time for you to pay the piper now. And he did it earlier. It's kind of irrelevant. I'm kind of into my dog big time now. I got a new dog in July. He's a Doberman Pinscher, and took a lot of effort into training him. And he's a real dominant breed dog and real active and super smart. So we're into these things. But he never compares himself to anybody. He's just trying to be the best Doberman he can be. Just like he learns that he loves it, but he never stops and gets discouraged. Like, man, if I was a German Shepherd, I wonder if I'd be learning how to fetch better by now. And they don't get distracted. He's instinctively drawn to be the best he can be, and he just loves it. I'm like, man, if we all were just focused on enjoying that process as much as he does, and not comparing ourselves to everybody else, we would stay on track a lot more, and sometimes not take ourselves out of the loop for 9 months or 3 months or 9 weeks at a pop, with the chitter chatter that you were talking about.
That's it. That seems to be the number one thing for me that I'm noticing is that, we live in it's a society thing, is everybody's like instant gratification. I call it IG. Yeah. It's not Instagram. It's instant gratification. It's like everybody wants instant gratification. And when something don't happen in the next 2 weeks, and it's like, oh, it's not meant to be.
Right.
I'm not the right person. It's not the right company, whatever. And it's like, wow, it's amazing to me how many people mentally check out so quickly in today's world, man.
Yep. Kevin Buckman always says, don't get too high and don't get too low. When it's going good, it's probably not going as good as you think it is. When things are going bad, it's probably not going as bad as you think it is. And, that's just kind of a good mindset to really keep, especially in this, because we do work in isolated individual pockets a lot of the time. Everybody sees the success in rare glimpses on stage in a big public environment, but it's a lot of lonely times by yourself that you've got to be disciplined in the midst of your disappointments that really determines the outcomes that people see in public. What you do in private always shows in public. And it's more times than not. I remember Colorado Springs I came back from a meeting, no show. It's probably an hour and a half away. And Stacy, everybody's in bed and it's snowing out there. There's a little bit of snow already on this stuff, and I come inside, there's a note and some chicken in the refrigerator with a piece of aluminum foil over it. pull it out. And I'm sitting there, I got to be at work in like 4 or 5 hours, the next morning, and then get up real early and just sitting there eating that chicken, and just be like, I remember stopping thinking, I'm like, I'm so committed to, I know that if I do the things, over the course of time, I'm going to be where I want to go. It's like in this moment, nobody would want to be me, but because of the cumulative effect of the fact I'm willing to do it, I'm going to have something that everybody would want to have, and it's being disciplined in those moments of disappointment are really key. That separates, really, I won't say, men from the boys, the girls from the women, or, whatever, but it kind of who's going to make it, so to speak, or not put themselves on the bench for a year because they got so disappointed. The best thing you can do in those moments is like, tomorrow's another day and I'm going to do my best. And that's all I can do. So,
that's
all
it.
right. On tip 2, if you're taking notes, here's tip 2. Become a master at tracking your hours. So it's early on, people really put a lot of effort into tracking their commissions, and that might be a minute, for some, say it takes you 3 months to get your first check, or 4 months, or I don't remember how long it was for us, but it was longer than I wanted it to be, for sure. Like we started at, March, April, May, June, July. It was about 4 or 5 months to get our first check. And I was putting, a lot of focus in this anyway, not a lot of hours, but a lot of focus into it. And that can be discouraging. And so I began to track the hours, and hours are anything that creates leverage within your organization. So I'm putting in a certain amount of what I call non-leveraged hours. They're 45-year plan hours, so to speak. It's if you're at a meeting and your butt is in a seat, that's a non-leveraged hour, and they're absolutely necessary. But there is a point of no return on them where they are no longer an appreciating asset, or you no longer get an increasing ROI on your time investment. You then only get paid on the leveraged hours that you're creating by your example through your own leadership. And so if you're at a UBP and it's 2 hours long, you're there, that's 2 hours of non-leveraged time. And if you have 2 people with you, that's 2 hours here and 2 hours here. So that's 4 hours of leverage time. And so my question for people that I'm working with, and I ask it all the time, if I'm at a HPP, I'll walk up to somebody in the back of the room and I'll be like, hey, how many hours are you working tonight? I ask that question all the time. How many hours are you working tonight? Because I want them focused on, first of all, it reveals 2 things, because they might have one guest on their shorter side, and there might be 5 people there on their what they consider their strong side, which neither one of them are strong at this point. They're just getting their business started, but in their mind, it's like, that one's done. I need my over here. And I want them to acknowledge that if they have 5 people on one side and 2 on the other, that they have 14 leveraged hours taking place that night, and 2 more for themselves. That's 16 hours of production just in that room. And also point out, maybe they might have somebody at another meeting or someone somewhere else, or, I want them focused on that, because their income may not be where they want it to be yet. But if they're doing the things and they're receiving the benefit of leverage, and it works in a small scale, then it's scalable to whatever point they want. And so if they're getting 14 hours in their business that night, they might have worked 8 hours in their job that day. I'll be like, man, you're getting more done here tonight than you did at your job all day. High five. I mean, way to go. And so those hours, I remember, getting my late night calls from Colton, because the 2-hour time change to California. He's calling me at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be like, in the valley of the shadow of death, or he'd be like, woo, Titanic, I'm the king of the world, depending on how it went. But my question was always the same. It was, how many hours did you work tonight? How many hours did you work tonight? How many hours? Because I want him thinking, okay, it's total production. It is taking place within my team. So I remember him calling me one night. He was at Outback, and he's like, I worked more hours leverage time outside the restaurant than I'm going to work at Outback all week. And he's like, in his mind, he started grasping that idea of leverage time. I remember on my way to MCI one morning, I was at a stoplight listening to an audio, and I was just big on audios because partly I didn't know what I was doing. And so I'm like, man, I don't know. That's a great question. But you got to listen to these audios. Everybody's listening to JR 9-day fast track, basic 5, 9-day fast track. And I'm at this stoplight, and I'm waiting on it to change. I'm listening. And in my mind, I'm like, I wonder how many people are listening to this audio right now. And I kind of started calculating, and I knew some of the teams and pockets with people in Minnesota at that point, stuff going on. I'm like, there's probably about 80 people listening to this audio right now on their way to work.
Yeah.
And I wasn't where I wanted to be financially. I was still walking into a gray, dark, soulless environment. I'm going to hear no for the next 8 hours. Nothing has changed on the outside, but that revelation changed everything on the inside, because I'm like, I'm going to freaking make it. I mean, I know there's no way that 80 people could be listening to JR every morning and have something not happen positively. In my business, I was so animate on those tapes. And at the end of the first year, we used to buy the plastic audio tapes. When we did our taxes at the end of the first year, I'd spent more money on audios than any other line item in the business. Way more than product, more than BV, more than anything else. I spent money on audios. That was like my biggest expense. I spent more on audios than anything else in my entire business at the end of the first year. And, it paid off big because it increased the hours I was getting every day. And so it's people listening to audios. Nowadays, we can share them at YouTube. We have the audio player. You send them that and get them to an event, get them to a basic 5, get them to a seminar. Anything where there's something happening, where somebody is talking or something's going on besides you. I mean, if your lips are moving, you're the tool, and that's not leverage. And so if you got something, I mean, Cullen, actually Trinity is the smartest person in the room right now. She's got you doing that and leveraging me on doing this, but she has a lot of people listening. So there's a lot of hours of production, going on. And so if you can start to think about the hours and how you can increase your hours over the course of the year using the events, everything right now should be building into getting people to Miami, because we get the biggest, amount of leverage, and be tracking that every week to the best you can. There's no report you can pull up, but you kind of get a guess, but it just kind of keeps you going when maybe the volume report doesn't show what you want it to yet. But the hours at the HVPs, the number of people showing a really bad plan, the number of people at a local seminar with you, those things are, they're like dark clouds coming in. It's like, I think it's going to rain. You see those clouds before you feel the water, and the meeting attendance, those hours of production are the best indicator of your future income.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's where it's at. And I think so often too, it's hard to even see that. Like you said, even Colton, when he was going through it, it's hard to see it until obviously it starts to multiply all of a sudden, but you're kind of like, is it really going to rain? And then all of a sudden it starts to go pop, 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 like the popcorn, right?
And then it's just pouring. It's like, where was this all along? Where was this all the time I needed it before? And it's just because it takes a while to get this thing going, which point number 3 is mowing grass versus planting apple trees. And I grew up on a farm, so I used to use a lot of like either farming, food, or football analogies. If you don't know anything about farming, if you're not into food, if you don't know anything about football, you probably will not be able to speak me. But most people get started with the mindset of they cut grass all week to get paid on Friday. And that's a noble task, and it's an honorable thing to do. And it's gratifying. You get your pay on Friday. You can spend some money over the weekend. On Monday, you got to start it again. And this business is much more like planting apple trees. And at the end of the first, and you can plant apple trees in the cracks of your schedule. In between, you're cutting grass during your lunch break, you go plant one apple tree. At night, you could, in your spare time, your buddy's going to go grab a beer, and you're like, I got to go plant an apple tree. And so you're planting those apple trees to start with, and your buddy might ask you on week 3, how much you making from your apple business? Like, nothing today, but I'm going to make a fortune in the future. And it's that mindset of you don't have to quit cutting grass to start planting apple trees. And the good thing is, if you'll show up and reach out, the best apple farmers in the world will pour everything they know into you and teach you when to plant them, where to plant them, how to protect those baby trees from the rabbits. They can everything to help you be successful with it. But you've got to be able to get past the fact that you don't get paid on Friday for planting apple trees. But the reason we plant apple trees is because eventually, in year 2, in year 3, there's going to be apples coming up from the trees you planted in week 1. And eventually, there's going to be so many apples coming in that you have more than your family can eat, more than you can eat, and you sell the excess, and you now have an abundance of more than enough of everything that you want every single year. And the magic thing, about apples is you can count how many seeds are in one apple, but there's no way to count how many apples could come from any one seed. It's impossible because they self-perpetuate. And it's the same thing with your income in this business, but you have to be willing to participate in the front end of what's going to give you all the greatness on the back end. And if you can't get into emotionally the idea of planting apple trees in the beginning, then you're probably not going to be able to participate in having an apple orchard in the future, because they go hand in hand. And so embrace that idea early and often as much as possible.
Love it. Love it.
All right, moving on. Number 4. This is good. This is a really good tip. These are all good. I wish somebody would have had to give me these in the beginning. Hey, Eric, big things are the little things, and the little things are the big things. And here is what I mean by that. We have a very simple process of a few things you do, and I spend more effort actually curtailing people's activity than I do trying to get them doing lots of different things. We're not very creative. We just do basic, simple things. I don't hold people accountable to how well they even do things. I just hold them accountable to doing them, listening to an audio every day, reading a little bit every day, attending one meeting a week, selling, finding one new customer a week, attending one meeting a week, just these simple, basic things. Like, I don't hold them accountable. Like, you got to show the plan so good that somebody even gets in. You just got to show it, and it's going to work out, and then we'll adjust, show it again, and we'll adjust. And so, but here's what happens is people get going and they start thinking. And that's kind of where things go south sometimes. Is they kind of get lost in here and they're like, I got an idea. Like, I doubt it's one JR hasn't thought of already. But they'll start thinking like, man, my cousin, dates a guy that's a trainer at the University of Wisconsin, and I could get all the Badgers taking OPC3. You know how huge that would be? And then everybody, all the football programs nationwide would all start taking OPC3. They would heal faster. They'd be the most competitive programs, and I'll have this done. And they'll dink around, putting together a package, and they'll call me, hey, do you think I could get Dennis Franks on the phone with this guy at the University of Wisconsin? Because I know if Dennis talked to him that he'd want to for sure use OPC, for the University of Wisconsin. And something that they think is the big thing, in reality is the little thing. Because in the meantime, somebody that lives next door to him went and showed the plan to like a yoga instructor and a school teacher and crushed it and built 2 legs and is making a 6-figure income, while the other person sat on the sideline for a year, working hard, spending money, doing things that are difficult, that are not duplicatable, and rarely pan out because that's not the wheelhouse of the business we're in. And they think they're doing the big thing, but all they accomplished was a little thing. And so the little things are, again, sharing it once a week. It's stacking together lots of very unremarkable days. And over a period of time, you have a very remarkable income. And so I guess the key words, and Cole, you've heard us say it a million times, is in addition to. Every time somebody comes to me with something brilliant, I say, I'm not against it, do it. I've never seen anybody succeed doing that, but it doesn't mean you can't. I just haven't. And I'm not going to tell them not to, because I'm not controlling, I'm like, do it, but do it in addition to the things that we know work. Okay, there's hundreds of people that have earned $1 million or more in this company. None of them got OPC to the University of Wisconsin for their football team. So do that. If something falls in your lap, send them a package or do something, but stay the course with the basic, simple things day in, day out. Stay the course with little things. So in addition to, okay, and protecting them from their big idea that's going to take them off track for a year. So.
That's so perfect.
All right. Got time for one last tip?
You.
All right, we'll wrap it up then.
Drum roll.
And I don't know, that last one might have been the biggest one. The longer I'm around, the more I think that's important. But number 5 would be, I think, lead from day one. And here's what I mean by lead from day one. Is in most environments, if you're at a, you're the new guy at a car lot, selling cars, you're probably not going to be invited to do the sales meeting or something for the whole staff. You kind of know your hierarchy, so you kind of, mind your P's and Q's. You don't want to rock the boat. You kind of do your thing, and you're letting people, else kind of set the pace for what's going on. And we think that leadership is something set aside for people that are further along than you or have earned more income than you or some of these things. And I just want to encourage people, like, as early in your career as possible, begin to lead well. Lead yourself well, but let that then overflow in how you lead others. And, leadership is your ability to get others taking action that they wouldn't have normally taken without your example. And so even if you have 0 people on your team, behave like your dream prospect is secretly watching you and hiding in the bushes, to see, like, is that the kind of person I want to sponsor me? Just come home, he's got a beer and watch Netflix all night. Or is he like, you know what? I'm learning a craft. I'm learning a new profession. I've already watched it twice, but I'm going to watch the new one again. I'm going to, and I didn't even like it the first time. I'm going to do it again because I want to get so good that I never have a little thing flub me up as a gift to a future organization that I don't even have right now. I'm going to learn the details of this business. I'm not even activated yet, but I'm going to go to the ECCT because you know what? I want to become a professional, at this. I will wake up first thing in the morning. Boy, I don't feel like listening to an audio. I'm going to listen to an audio today because I know that's what's going to get me where I want to go. And so they begin to lead themselves really, really well, and not waiting until they're at a certain income because they think, well, I'll take these leadership steps. I'll volunteer to be on the association. I'll volunteer to help out the registration table, or, there's a leaky roof at the UBP. It's like, well, I'm only a coordinator, so that's Colin's problem. It's like, if you see there's a leaky roof and you go get a trash can and you notify the Holiday Inn, man, you just get prepared for a raise because you're leading well, and income and teams are attracted to leadership. And more than ever, there's more opportunity for people to make an income in this company than there's ever been before, not because of our products, not because of our pay plan or our website or shop.com or anything else. It's because there's such a vacuum of leaders in our country, in our world. We've developed a culture where, you can look better than you really are on Instagram and Facebook and, these kind of things. And you don't have to sometimes even, it's easy to get onto a social media and point fingers at every different politician or every different coach that's not doing what they should be, or every different program or idea. And everybody can kind of point the finger someplace, but there's not a lot of people stepping forward on any news channel. I don't care what's your favorite drug of choice. It doesn't matter. There's not a lot of people stepping on there and saying, you know what? I don't know really who caused this, but I'm going to be a part of fixing it. I'd be like, who said that? You want to vote for that guy. I don't care what he's wearing. It's like, I want to solve this problem. There's not a lot of people that are stepping forward and saying, I want to be a solution. You know what? I'm going to sacrifice what I want now to help other people, get there. I'm going to show up early and save a seat. I got 2 hands. I'm getting me a coffee, but I'm going to bring back another coffee for someone else. Well, who's that coffee for? I don't know yet. I haven't decided. Maybe you. It's like just leading and serving and loving their team well, and doing the things in private that nobody sees, so they're prepared to shine in public, but that doesn't start once you have a large team. And if I can encourage you to do anything, everyone on this call, like as soon as you can, begin to lead well, lead yourself well, lead your team well, because teams of people are like moths to a light. They're so hungry for somebody that's willing to take personal responsibility and willing to step forward and lead. And if you're willing to do that, man, you'll have more income than you know what to do with, because you're a solution to so many problems. And so if you're waiting until later to take a leadership role, it doesn't mean you take over. If you're like, well, this meeting be good, Colin, get out of the way and let me show the plan, this will be better. It's not that. It's you know what, how can I sit on the front row and give Colin energy when he's showing the plan, not sit on the back and think about how much better I would do. It's everything you do, every decision, every action you take, run it through the filter of, is would I want to follow somebody that just thought that thought? Before you gossip, before you start a rumor, before you say something about somebody, before you, whatever. It's like, would I follow that person? And then just stop doing that and just be a leader. Begin speaking life, giving high fives, bringing more energy, bringing back a second cup of coffee, getting places early, reading a book in private and being like, man, you know what? This really encouraged me a lot. And you just give it to your next prospect, even if he says, no, he didn't want to do the business. Be like, I understand you don't want to do this business. Man, this book rocked me to my core. I'm going to give it to you. Do you think you're going to have a problem with prospects or getting 2 people when you're leaving everybody better than you find them? And so start leading well from day one, not some future time based on your commission report today. And that's what will attract the team that'll give you the commission report you really want to see. So that's tip 5, and that's it.
Man, so many great tips, dude. I'm gonna check really quick because yeah, I talked a little bit already. I'm gonna see if Trinity is in her car at this point. Trinity, I am muted you if you are. I'm gonna see if she can jump on with us really quick.
No, I am here. I'm listening, and it's
No
amazing.
screen dog.
Every time I hear David talk, I always learn something. 20 years later, and I'm sorry about the no, dude. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry. I should have said yes right away.
I wouldn't change it for anything. It would mess up the story.
It would mess it up, and we all have our own journey, right? We all have our own journey, and we all get there. The view's always the same at the top. So incredible tips, David. Thank you so much.
Man, thank you. Proud of what you guys are doing in Florida. You know, to move from one area to a new one, and almost kind of, it's like reinventing yourself. You're starting from scratch. You're in a new place. You know, you don't know anybody. You guys are starting from scratch, and like in a short time, you're setting the pace for your region, you know, and setting the pace in your local area. You're a solution to other people's problems. You guys are taking on leadership roles within your GMTSS. It's like, it's every time your guys' name comes up anywhere, it's always like super positive, and you guys are a part of a solution. So I'm just proud to be connected with y'all.
Well, thank you so much. And we're so proud of everybody on this phone call across the country, but also, you know, especially here in the local Florida area, because they really have made moving a ton of fun. And we're just so ecstatic for them. That's why we wanted you to get to meet some of them. They could get to know you a little bit. And, you know, they're just learning the system, and they're starting to plug into the events, which I'm super excited about. Learn the Basic 5. In fact, there's a Basic 5 coming up with your brother, Kelly, on December 9th that they're all attending. So for others that don't, you know, who do you know out here in the Clearwater, Tampa Bay area? And so maybe you could just tell them a little bit about Kelly and, you know, just to plug people onto that and get guests there, David, as well, because we've learned from the best for sure.
Man, well, if Kelly is doing anything, you want to be there. I don't know that Kelly's the smartest person I've ever met, but he's the wisest. You know, and there's a difference between smart and wise. You know, you can learn smart, but it's hard to learn wisdom. And Kelly has a depth of wisdom that just, it flows from him kind of effortlessly. And he kind of exemplifies what I said earlier about, you know, what you do in private will eventually show in public, because he's dedicated a lot of his life to pouring in good things by being around really good people. He's had lots of really great mentors and experiences in his life. He was on a national championship basketball team in college, you know, and he's just done a lot of really cool things. And so when you hear him speak, he's paid a heavy price, and not all things in his life have gone good. You know, I mean, he's overcome some things and you know, some heartbreaks, and when you hear him speak, though, he paid a hefty price for something that he's there to give you freely. And you know, that's kind of a cool thing. You know, when we moved to Nashville to do music, you know, Faith Hill didn't call up Stacy and be like, "Hey, what can I do to help you get where I am faster?" You know, like, we never got that call from anyone. We didn't get it from Faith Hill. We didn't get it from anybody that even stunk. You know, anyone. And so, you know, in this business, you can have people that have dedicated the last 20, 30, or 40 years or something to a craft, and they're willing to freely give that to you. And that's what's available at the Basic 5. And man, to get to have, I'm in Kansas City, man. There's not anybody in hours, you know, around us, you know, that can just show up. So that's one of the benefits you have in Florida, is there's so many incredibly talented people that'll show up, and just like you're in an abundance of great ideas. You just need to match it with an abundance of action, you know, after you hear it, and take advantage of it, or show up and bring somebody. But, you know, when I talked earlier about leverage time, this is where you'd want to, you know, there's some of you wanting, you know, waiting for a rainy day to call. It's raining. You know, this would be an event you'd want to overcome some obstacles, maybe get 2 or 3 no's, find a solution, a way to get somebody there with you. Because there's a unique thing. And honestly, I can't totally put my finger on it with Kelly, but he has this deal that when he speaks, I think he could probably also just read the phone book, and people would be like, "Wow, that was really deep." And you're like, sometimes I'll hear him say stuff, I'm like, "That wasn't even that deep." You know, but he has such a depth of character that overflows no matter what he's saying, and that's what people grab. And the whole company, the whole business plan, all that will have a lot more credibility when you get your guests in front of Kelly. Partly because of what he says, but mostly because of who he is, and that You know, I probably wouldn't say all these nice things if he was here with me because he's my brother, and it'd be weird. But I honestly, it's made me a fortune putting people on the phone with Kelly, getting people in front of Kelly. And he was just in Kansas City here, you know, recently. And I just sat there listening to him. I was like, man, this guy is a deep well. So do the hard work on the front end, and you'll be glad during the event, and you'll be counting the hours, and your eyes are going to be rolling, you know, like at a casino, you know, going lemons and cherries, you know.
Hey, one last quick question too, and I know we're right at an hour, so I want to wrap it up. But one last quick question is, with you guys right now and all the activity you guys are crushing up there in Kansas City and obviously in other areas, but right in your backyard, what are you guys finding as the most useful BV producing time for you guys in the realms of one-on-ones, two-on-ones, home presentations, building into the UBP? Because, you know, again, we got so many new people that they're even trying to grasp like what's the most important thing for me to be getting to, and once I go to something, am I good? I went to it once, or you know what I mean? We're so green at learning everything, and we're bringing everybody together to make sure we're following the necessary steps. But what are you guys doing there?
Well, I think we have all this technology that's increased beyond when, you know, I got started, and that is so useful for the things, you know, I can't do, like being able to send somebody a YouTube, like if Ernie and Jeanette Hikus, you know, like their YouTube, their video, their story, or you guys, I love your new one, you know, that's good, or, you know, Mel and some of these people, like these YouTubes of people's stories and things you can do on the back end, you know, is so much better than it's ever been before. But there is no substitute, I think, from and I would have said maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I thought that the trend in our world is people are going away from live meetings. People want to just hunker down and be, but I don't think that's true. I'm more convinced today than ever before. People are starving to show up at something where they actually have a human look them in the eye and like share an idea. People are lonely. You know, I mean, they're buying dogs and staying home, and they're just like, they just want a friend. You know, I mean, truly, I mean, a real friend, not a Facebook friend, like the kind of friend that you have when you're moving, that kind of friend. Yeah. And, you know, that shows up, you know, and so live events, you know, actually sitting with somebody around a kitchen table, to me, is like the sweet spot of this whole company today, more than ever. That was the same, you know, when we first got started, you know, is me sitting down at a kitchen table with you and your cousin and your neighbor might show up, and it's like 4 of us. And we're just kind of sharing this idea poorly, but we're excited, you know, but it's not about just us here this day, because we got something Saturday I'm going to bring you to that's going to clean up the mess. And so when you rely on that process of the skill set required to sit at the kitchen table is very low. And when people realize, man, you're a part of a team, you're a part of a process that's not personality dependent, it's process dependent. And it was light, and they had fun. They enjoyed being with you. You were nice, you know, you were present with them as a human while they were there. They're going to want to come to that next thing. And people are starving to step into a room where there's unity. They see people celebrating each other's success. And that is the clincher. Using the tools in between, the videos are so good. The stories, you can share stories so easily now. You can let it drip and trickle on people. But that first appointment of lots of people showing a really bad marketing plan around the kitchen table, but they're excited about it. To me, that's still the sweet spot on the golf club, you know, that you really want to try to hit. And everybody can do that, because there's no criteria on how it's got to be, and then flow them into the next thing. And people are hungry to walk into a room where they see people celebrating each other's success, being nice to one another. They walk in and they're like, huh, they don't treat each other like this at my job. I don't go to my family's Thanksgiving anymore because they don't, you know, they gossip, and they, you know, it's like when they walk into a life-giving room where people are celebrating each other's success, they're helping pull everyone else forward. They're like, you know, I was starving for this. I didn't even know it. It's like getting a drink of water, you know, how thirsty where you drink the whole glass in 1 second. People are hungry for that. If you offer that, which you guys have there, every room you and the trainer are in, you know, so they get them to that next meeting. To me, that is the wheelhouse of our business today more than ever. Is people are hungry to actually be with real humans that are nice.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Well, hey, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight and sharing some of your wisdom with us, man.
Working on it. I stole it all from Kelly.
There you go.
Man, thank you guys.
Thank
I'm proud
you
of you.
so
I'm proud of
much.
y'all.
We cannot wait for you to meet everybody in Miami. Woo!
Yes, we will be there. Maybe we'll come hang out and have chips and salsa with you again somewhere.
There you go.
That'd be amazing.
Love it. Love
Love
it.
it.
Man,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you,
Martin.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
All
guys.
right, bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.